It's now been over a year since Mario Luigi Brothership released, and while I haven't even fully digested it, time isn't slowing down. By the time I make like 5 more videos, the next one will probably come out by this point. There are just too many games right now, and I need everything to just slow down. I can wait for Mario and Luigi, but the conversation of what's next for the series is intriguing to me. There's a lot more opportunities for different paths the series can take compared to the 3DS era, and I wanted to explore some of them and get everyone's thoughts on them. Something that I really wanted to talk about that's decently possible is a Switch 2 edition of Brothership. Some people may think it's unnecessary, and yeah, but was the Animal Crossing one necessary when it's been dead for like 4 years? Brothership still has some relevance compared to that in some Switch 2 editions. In general, there's good potential for one. There could be the usual graphic enhancements which the game could benefit from. Simply going from 30 FPS to 60 would be perfect. Loading times would be faster, Shipshape Island in the endgame wouldn't buffer so much, and other minor graphical problems. A lot of the criticism for Brothership comes directly from the performance. Personally, I don't really care if it's 30 FPS or not, but it has to be stable. I understand there are definitely people who can really feel a difference because of what they usually play, but growing up on Nintendo RPGs, especially on handheld, got me used to whatever it was as long as it was smooth. I was one of the people who didn't mind at all when the Bowser's Inside Story remake was only 30 FPS. Again though, framerate is a completely valid criticism of the game when timing is an essential part of the gameplay. But there's also things like a proper boss rush, or more difficulties we haven't gotten. Maybe we can actually get options in the options menu, like letting us use B for Luigi in battle, or general quality of life stuff. But imagine a new side campaign, and yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna buy a DLC with the gameplay of Bowser's minions except me and like 2 other people. I'm referring to an actual campaign with Mario and Luigi, probably in the Mushroom Kingdom. Or, if they want to get real interesting, use this opportunity to do a Wario and Waluigi game. Give me their perspective of the wormhole that brought the Mushroom Kingdom into Concordia. Give them their own little side plot that weaves into the main story similar to Bowser Jr.'s Journey or Minion Quest. Unfortunately, Nintendo are cowards, but we can dream. I think the idea of a Switch 2 edition is neat. I do need to replay Brothership to really define my feelings on it at this point, but I do think that there are a lot of little issues that could be fixed up in a simple Switch 2 edition. I'll even just take a graphical upgrade. Originally, I thought a Switch 2 edition was never gonna happen, but with all these really weird ones coming out, you never know. If Nintendo is gonna make them an integral part of their schedule for the next year or two, Brothership could likely be up there in terms of options. I am genuinely curious about what you guys think they can do to make Brothership better in a Switch 2 edition, so please let me know, because a full-on wishlist video would be fun, even if it's unlikely. Another possibility is a port or remake. Originally, before Brothership's announcement, I was really manifesting a Dream Team port. I don't know why, probably because I liked it a lot and it seemed like one of the less difficult ones to bring over to Switch, excluding Superstar Saga. So much would have to be reworked, like giant battles. All of those resources might as well go into making a full-on remake. I don't think it's realistic that we'll see a collection of Mario and Luigi games either. Mainly because Nintendo would give us one game alone for like $60. Why would they give us 3 games reworked for a single screen, working around features like touchscreen and polishing up the graphics, all for $60 or even $70 at this point? It's unrealistic coming from them. There have been patents of a second attachable screen for the Switch 2, and while it doesn't exactly confirm anything, I believe they've been making patents like these for a while. It would make sense if they inevitably make a second screen attachment for DS games on NSO. We're getting an accessory for Game Boy, and they do have to inevitably add DS games to the service. Although they could simply fit the 2 screens into one, but I feel like that's something Nintendo would try to avoid doing. Okay, we're getting a bit off topic though. The point is, DS on NSO is probably coming by 2028. We've been getting new systems added to the service every other year, starting in 2021 with N64, then Game Boy and GBA in 2023, and then GameCube in 2025. Virtual Boy is coming out this year, which is an outlier, but it's Virtual Boy, I don't care. I think it's most realistic if we don't see a Switch 2 edition of Brothership, we'll see Partners in Time or Bowser's Inside Story on Nintendo Switch Online first. Then again, with the way they're drip feeding NSO games, maybe we'll get a new entry before either of them. But in all seriousness, I think it's safe to say Bowser's Inside Story would be there at launch. It's a DS classic if you really look at the big picture. Even with how ginormous the DS library is, Inside Story stands out as an iconic one. Anyways, what if we got an actual full-fledged remake though? The obvious pick would be Partners in Time, but honestly, I feel like Nintendo wouldn't care if it's the least accessible entry and any game is fair ball. Any Mario and Luigi game outside of Brothership would take immense effort that I don't think is worth it. Nintendo clearly doesn't want to go back to using sprites. I mean, they got a whole studio who literally specialized in it and told them, you know, we know you're best known for your gorgeous work on Octopath Traveler, but can we make Brothership 3D instead so it looks more like the box art style? But seriously, am I the only one who finds that baffling? Especially when the high resolution on sprites would make the Mario and Luigi style more obvious. Point is, I feel like everything would have to be made in a completely new vision in 3D if it were to be remade, and at that point they might as well just be making a new entry. As cool as the collection would be, I just don't see it happening. It's more work than I feel like they'd be willing to go through. I'm sure they'd rather settle on having the first 3 on NSO, which is probably gonna be a few years. The only real benefit I see to doing a remake at this point is if they're somehow convinced to keep it as sprites, which is unlikely at this point if you ask me, or just to give the team at Acquire more of a feel for Mario and Luigi before they push forward. But really, I think as long as they keep the few Alpha Dream staff members that worked on Brothership, or even just the former president Yoshihiko Maekawa as a supervisor, they'll be okay. The last option, of course, is Mario and Luigi 7. That feels really weird saying now after thinking of a 6 for so long. Trying to speculate what a Mario and Luigi 7 could be like is kinda impossible. They could go anywhere with the series. All I could really do is look at the logistics of things like when it'd be released. Acquire has quite a few new games in development, some more ambitious than others, but in 2024 the company released 4 other games alongside Brothership, so it's hard to tell what'll have an effect on their pipeline, especially when some of their games are being developed alongside other studios. Acquire is also a pretty big sized studio with 2 different locations and over 150 employees as of last year. This isn't like Alpha Dream anymore where we can just look at the year gaps between games. These RPGs take a while to make, especially if they want to do something as long as Brothership. I think it's reasonable to get into where is this game territory by early 2028. If we're really lenient and say they started pre-production in early 2025, they're deep into production now and will be until the end of 2027 if you ask me, which is concerning. The issue we're running into now is Mario and Luigi accidentally joined the Paper Mario cycle. The cycle in which there is a Paper Mario game every 4 years, regardless of if it's a new game or remake. That's why I'm hoping whatever's next for Paper Mario comes out sooner in 2027. I mean, Intelligent Systems had a break with the remake, and it's speculated that it was done by fall of 2023. If we could get a Paper Mario in early to mid 2027, that would give a good amount of time for another Mario RPG, that being Mario and Luigi coming out in probably 2028, time to breathe. While it wasn't a good idea to release 3 Mario RPGs within a 12-month span of each other, Brothership pushed through and sold well. Over 2 million copies, which is good for the circumstances. I really think they should have spent more time polishing up for a Switch 2 release instead, but what do I know? At the end of the day, I see a new entry being the most realistic. A collection seems like a pipe dream when Nintendo would love to charge $60 just for one game reworked for Switch 2. A port or remake would just be a waste of funds unless they really want Acquire to understand the feel of the games, which I think they've already almost perfected, and a full-on remake I don't think is necessary. Sorry Partners in Time fans. So yeah, if we don't get a Switch 2 edition or port or remake, I could see Mario and Luigi 7 releasing at or past early 2028. And I'm fine waiting. If you're not, play more games, man. There are a lot right now, and I'm struggling in a sea of them. Let me know what you guys think Nintendo should do with the series next. This is a conversation I haven't seen much of online, and I want to discuss it. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.